You'll be as pleased as I am that as we move through March, the days are getting longer and we're starting to see a bit of spring coming through and some warmer days. And with that, it's fantastic, isn't it, to be able to get outside a little bit more and to enjoy the open air. But it's really important that as we do that, that we also keep in mind all of the measures that are in place in this very first step of the roadmap. It allows for us to meet up with one other person for recreational activities outdoors. But it's really important that even as we do that, we keep in mind all of the social distancing measures, which are so important. The reason they're important is that there is no shortcut we can take to the end of the roadmap. There is still quite a long way to travel, and during that time, we need to make sure that the rates in Nottinghamshire come down further. You can play your part in that by sticking to the rules at each step of the roadmap.
I like my job, and I've been a mental health nurse for almost, it's more than 40 years. I'm not going to give my age away. September last year, I was walking my dog and she happened to pick a fight with another dog. During that fight, I intervened and I was bitten by either of the dogs, I don't know which. As a consequence of that, I contracted sepsis with quite a virulent bacteria. Essentially, went into shock, lots of organ failure, and the result of all that is what they call a quad amputation. All of my life I've been very independent. I never felt as if I'd lose it. I always just thought, and I still do, it's something you're constantly working towards. My wife's the gardener, not me. Used to do the heavy jobs. Yeah, the carer thing is quite important. I think the big thing for Anne has always been, if I know the help's there and how to access it, then that makes me feel better already. When I was considered to be medically fit before I was actually discharged, this rather nice man called Nadeem turned up, and he explained that he was the hospital social worker. He explained the concept of social care. As soon as we started the assessment, it was obvious that we were also going in a direction.
What makes me proud about working within the hospital setting is having the opportunity to work with hospital OTs, physiotherapists, doctors, working with the individual to meet that individual's need collectively. Crucially, the individual is the heart of the work that we do.
The right services were put in place in a very caring way. Nadeem was the hub. Essentially, it did feel like a joined-up approach.
I think Julian naturally is a confident man, and I think it was about trying to ensure that we harness that positivity that Julian has. The strategy offers us opportunity to work with individuals around their needs and promote their confidence and independence, and allows them structure and control to think about the services that they want and how they want to live independently within the community.
All the services that I need have been provided and I feel well cared for. The difference that adult social care has made is the difference between being in an institution and being miserable and being at home and being happy.
My life was a bit of a struggle. I've always wanted to do things like be out and about, meeting new people. Basically, my head was all over the place.
I started working with Shane in May 2017. His social worker in the transitions team referred him to the Knots Enabling Service. I know that Knots Enabling Service have changed Shane's pathway for the better. His social worker told me that he was planning to commission 2 days of day services for Shane. And now what we have is someone who's happy with their life, working hard, getting paid, and for those other 5 days a week not being bored, sat at home.
Ever since me and Aidan have been talking, ever since I've called him my brother, he's shown me some good skills, he's a nice lad. I can't have no one better than him, because he's quality.
I quickly found out that Shane was very good with people and his social skills were great. He always makes me laugh. He wanted to do some gardening and also he wanted to help people, which is why he did some volunteering at the community gardens. I increase a person's confidence by focusing on what strengths they do have, because I believe if you focus on things that interest someone, you're likely to get the best out of them.
I have the confidence to actually do something now in my life.
I'm proud that I've enabled someone to be able to do those things that they wouldn't necessarily be able to do before or believe that they could do. And I think that sums up what the Knots Enabling Service is about. We've changed someone's life for the better and actually made him more independent.
My passion is basically birds of prey. The best of all are my peregrines. Everything you've got is all based on a bond. If you haven't got that bond, you haven't got anything worth having. When I got told that I'd got dementia, I was told that it would gradually get worse, so it meant I had to get rid of my car. I got rid of quite a few of my falcons, what have you. Hardly anybody ever rings me up about falcons at all, see. You can't expect it to go on forever, but anyway, it's finished with now. Mary and myself do everything that we can. We help one another. So we've said at times we'll have to have some help.
As an occupational therapist, I try to promote a person's independence. I always start off with a person-centred approach because we just want the best for the person. So I think that's quite a good thing as a therapist, to work in a team that do actually promote that. When George initially came home from hospital, he did state that outdoor mobility was one of his goals.
I'd been in the house for a long time and I was quite pleased to be able to get out and have a walk. I says, I haven't been out for weeks.
From the very young age, when I was a child, I used to idealize my father. He was very fit and athletic, and he was a police officer, so he used to do exercise every day. I used to think, oh, one day I'm going to be like him, so keeping myself.
Okay, I think 10 seconds does last a long when you're waiting for it to come by, doesn't it? So good morning, everybody. And can I begin this meeting, and this is the final meeting of this administration, by asking my chaplain, the Reverend Liz Murray, to lead us in prayers. Liz, please.
Thank you. As we come before you this morning, gracious God, we remember those who have been adversely affected by the coronavirus pandemic. Be gentle with us in our grief. protect us from despair, and give us grace to persevere and face the future with hope. Be with us as we consider the business ahead of us in this meeting. Guide our thoughts and deliberations through your wisdom. In Jesus Christ, our risen Lord, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Making sure I've got it right this time. Thank you, Reverend Murray. Last time I actually cut you off.
Pleasure.
I do apologise. Nice to see you, and I'll see you over Easter. Hopefully.
Marvellous. Good.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone to this full council meeting, which is being held remotely, broadcasting live and recorded for publication, with the majority of members of this council joining in the meeting from their own homes. I am the Councillor Stuart Wallace, and I am the Chairman of the County Council, and I'm chairing the meetings today. The quorum for the meeting of the Council is 17, and I can confirm to you that we are quorate. In addition to this to the members of the Council, there are also a number of officers at the meeting today, which include the Chief Executive, Anthony May, and the Monitoring Officer, Marjorie Toward. So moving then on into the actual agenda, item 1 is for the minutes. The minutes have been circulated in your blue book. Can I ask the Council to approve the minutes of the last meetings? Thank you. Is anybody against that? Thank you, it's agreed. I'll sign the minute book as we go through. Moving then on to apologies for absence, and it's to ask the different groups if there are any apologies for absence, please. Starting off with Councillor Richard Butler.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I do have apologies for absence from Councillor Hopewell and Councillor Wright for personal reasons.
Thank you. Councillor Brooks.
Good morning, Chair. We have no apologies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Helen Allen Smith. Councillor Smith.
I think we may have just lost Councillor Smith from the call, Chairman. Apologies.
Okay, then.
We're just trying to get her back in. I don't know if there's anybody else from the group who can report on it.
Chair, there's something wrong with Councillor Smith's internet kicking her out, but all the Ashfield independents are present and correct, Chairman.
Thank you. I'll accept that from you. I know that Councillor Dobson's in there because I've seen her and had a chat. That leaves Councillor Carr, who I haven't seen. Can he confirm?
Yes, I'm here.
Right, thank you. No, it's all right. I'm just making sure I've got all my chickens in. Moving then on to item 3, which is declaration of interest. If any councillor or officer has either a disclosable pecuniary interest or a private interest in any matter on the agenda, you should declare that now. Please raise your hand if you have an interest to declare, and when called to speak, you should state whether it's a disclosable pecuniary interest or a private interest, and then give us brief details. Like always, I say that if during the meeting you suddenly realise that you have got some form of interest, please indicate at that time. I'll make accommodations for you to give information. So does anyone have any interests that need to be declared?
Yeah.
I don't.
Chair, sorry, I was struggling to get on. I think I ought to declare an interest non-pecuniary in item 8, as I am a member of the Nottinghamshire Wildlife Trust.
Okay, thank you. That's just a pure member.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Any other interests, declarations, please? Thank you. Moving then on to item 5. It's with very great in receiving the High Sheriff's Award on behalf of the County Council from Dame Elizabeth Fradd at the beginning of this month, when she was still then the High Sheriff. There are some excellent photographs were taken when she was presenting the award. And there you are, you see two very, very handsome individuals. But I'm delighted to say that Liz has joined us in our meeting this morning. And I would ask Liz to come forward to say a few words and to explain what the award is about. Liz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Leader, Chief Executive, members of the Council, good morning, and thank you very much indeed for letting me join your meeting this morning. It's in the gift of each High Sheriff to present individuals or community groups with a Certificate of Recognition Award for great and valuable services to the community. They're a way of shining a light on those whose work might not otherwise have attracted appreciation from other sources. And they also recognise the appreciation of residents throughout the county. It's my particular view that it's rarely one individual that is capable of influencing a sustained impact. And I therefore focused the majority of my awards while I was High Sheriff on teams or teams or groups of individuals who have, through their collective contribution at every level, ensured best effect. I've had both contact during my Shrevell year and previously with a number of county council services, but I wanted to be sure that the Chief Executive Officer would be supportive of my approach. So I also offered him the opportunity to add his own suggestions. He wisely did this through his senior leaders, the outcome of which surprised us both. An enormous number of names and teams were put forward, which left me feeling that I had been remarkably naive in my approach. And I hope, however, that it left Anthony feeling rightly incredibly proud of his staff. Together, we agreed a way forward. In order not to destroy the expectations of the staff and to ensure a sense of fairness, I presented to the Chair on the 3rd of March, while I was still High Sheriff, a certificate of recognition to the entire staff of the County Council. It marks for me the multiple, varied and valuable services delivered to communities across Nottinghamshire. It recognises the contributions made by all staff, including those whose work is hidden and rarely seen. I'm impressed by them all, but I am particularly proud of the selfless determination to provide services over the last year to some of the most vulnerable people in our community, despite at times experiencing considerable difficulties. I'm really grateful, Chair, for this opportunity to thank them all for more publicly declaring how I think that they have enhanced the life of residents across Nottinghamshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Can I say on behalf of the authority, on behalf of the staff, of whom rightly deserve this award and recognition, that it's a wonderful award which recognises the hard work and dedication of all our staff during which has been and will continue to be very challenging periods. I'd like to take this opportunity now to put on record my thanks on behalf of the Chamber to all our staff. And Liz, thank you for attending, and you're more than happy if you want to stay with us for the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Moving then on, please, to a request that we suspend part of the full council procedure. This is the last full council meeting of the administration, and we have a heavy agenda to get through today. And I actually don't believe, and nor do the staff here, that we will manage to conclude it all by 5:30 this afternoon. So rather than carrying on business over into next administration after the election, I wish to move that the council suspends full council procedure rule number 9, which is that at 5:30 p.m. Meeting end time, to enable the business on the agenda to be dealt with today. In other words, I'm allowing an extension. Do I have a seconder to this?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Well, then, in order to do that, I should put it to the vote. All those members who are in favour of suspending at 5:30 the time motion. Yes. Oh, sorry. We're going to do a full roll call. So a full roll thing. I'll hand over to the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, colleagues. So we're voting on a motion to suspend full council procedure rule 9, which is the rule that means that we normally end at 5:30. So if I could begin to take the vote, please, starting with Councillor Adair.
For.
Councillor Allen. Councillor Pauline Allen.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Barnfather.
For.
Councillor Bosniak.
For.
Councillor Bradley.
For.
Councillor Brooks.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Butler.
For.
Councillor Carr.
For.
Councillor John Clark.
For.
Councillor Neil Clark.
For.
Councillor Cotty.
For.
Councillor Creamer.
For.
Councillor Cutts.
For.
Councillor Deakin.
For.
Councillor Dobson.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Doddy.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Fielding.
For.
Councillor Fole.
For.
Councillor Garner.
For.
Councillor Guilfoyle.
For.
Councillor Girling.
For.
Councillor Greaves.
For.
Councillor Handley.
For.
Councillor Harper.
For.
Councillor Henry. Councillor Errol Henry. I'll come back to you, Errol. Councillor Henshaw.
For.
Councillor Hollis.
For.
Councillor Richard Jackson. Councillor Jackson, Richard Jackson.
For.
Thank you, Richard. Councillor Roger Jackson.
For.
Councillor Kerry.
For.
Councillor Knight.
For.
Councillor Lawton.
For.
Councillor Longdon.
For.
Councillor Madden.
For.
Councillor Martin.
For.
Hello.
Councillor Meal.
For.
Councillor Ogle.
For.
Councillor Owen.
For.
Councillor Payne.
For.
Councillor Peck.
For.
Councillor Place.
For.
Councillor Plant.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Purdue Horan.
For.
Councillor Quigley.
For.
Councillor Rhodes.
For.
Councillor Kevin Rostance.
For.
Councillor Phil Rostance.
For.
Councillor Saddington.
For.
Councillor Sissons.
For.
Councillor Smith.
For.
Councillor Taylor.
For.
Councillor Simbaridis.
For.
Councillor Vickers.
For.
Councillor Walker.
For.
Councillor Wallace.
For.
Councillor Vice.
For.
Councillor Wetton.
For.
Councillor Gordon Wheeler.
For.
Councillor Jonathan Wheeler.
For.
Councillor Woodhead.
For.
And Councillor Zadrozny.
For.
I'll come back to Councillor Errol Henry.
For.
Thank you, Errol. That's carried, Chairman.
Thank you, and that's carried unanimously. I appreciate that. Thank you, members. The decision made that the meeting will now continue for as long as it needs to be and complete all the business of the agenda so that we are handing over a clean slate to those that come after us. I do hope that I don't intend to keep members here any longer than necessary, so I do ask you to remain disciplined. and we'll have to be strict on the rules, or we could be in for a very, very long meeting. I still remember the one that went till 2:30 in the morning, which was a budget one. I ask that members please think carefully before raising points of order or points of clarification, as they do inevitably disrupt what's going off and delay the debate itself. So thank you very much, and your help is appreciated. On Chairman's business then, please. As already stated, it's our last meeting of the administration, and I'm aware that a number of our long-standing members are not standing again in the forthcoming election. So I feel it's appropriate to acknowledge their hard work and dedication to the constituents and to this council. And I would like to offer now the opportunity to members to speak in acknowledgement of their services. Are there any members wish to speak? Councillor Butler.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, we say thank you and farewell to 7 of our Conservative group members whose services to this council range from 4 years right up to 33 years. And added together, that's some 90 years worth of service to this authority. So starting with the longest serving first, it was quite difficult to decide who to name first, so to speak. So I think we'll start with the longest serving. So Keith Walker, who was first elected in 1987 as the member for Balderton, and which, apart from a break between 1993 and 1997, he's represented ever since. Keith has sat on many committees across the board, including planning, audit, economic development, community safety, transport and highways, and many others. He was also vice chairman and then chairman of the county council during our administration between 2009 and 13. And he represented the council at hundreds of events across the whole county. He was very well received and much admired by many people across the whole county, as well as his own division over those 33 years. My next member is Kay Cutts. Now, where to start with Kay? Kay was first elected in 1989, representing Radcliffe-on-Trent, and she has done this continually since. She became leader of the Conservative group in 1997, and of course she still is the leader of our group, and was leader of the County Council between 2009 and 2013, and currently from 2017 to the end of this current term. Kay knows everything about the county and the council and the way the council works, or the way it should work, and she is passionate not just about the council but the whole of Nottinghamshire and its people. She has and continues to devote phenomenal time and energy to the Nottinghamshire cause. Pre-pandemic, she would be at County Hall every day, literally working for the people of Nottinghamshire and keeping an eye on the county council and doing what she has to do. Look after the council, make sure it's all working properly and doing its job. And gosh, does she do that. And nowadays, of course, because in this world of team meetings and Zoom and all the rest of it, she's taken to the new technology incredibly, and she is continually, daily battling for Nottinghamshire and its people in so many ways, down the internet line, down the broadband, on the Teams and Zoom. I'm sure we would all agree that her energy knows no bounds, and she takes genuine interest in the work and needs of everyone who works and serves on this authority. Stuart Wallace, your good self, Mr. Chairman. You're leaving us at the end of this term, and you joined the council in 2009, and representing Newark East, which you still represent. And currently, obviously, you're chairman, and before being chairman, you were vice chairman. But before those roles, your skills and knowledge and your life experience came to the fore in the crucial world of adult social care and health in particular, both during periods of opposition, when you were our lead spokesman, and also as chairman of this very important committee. And of course, being chairman now, you're keeping an eye on us all and as much control as you can do. Not an easy job, I know, only two, so thank you. Andy Brown. Now, Andy is interesting. He flew in. He's a pilot. You may not have known that, but he actually can fly an aeroplane. So he flew into the County Council in 2013 as member for the then East Leek division, which of course is now Leek and Ruddington. Andy has been and continues to be absolutely dedicated to his division, and he constantly battles away on their behalf, as I and colleagues know very well, because his phone bill must be absolutely astronomical. But since 2017, in particular, Andy has been our lead spokesman on the Nottingham and Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Authority. His commitment and time to this is exceptional. He takes it very, very seriously. He loves being on that authority, and he took to the role naturally. He does so much more than just turning up and just attending meetings, and he is held in very high regard by officers of that authority and other members of the fire authority as well. And likewise, back in his own division, he is positively adored by his parish councils and residents. Well, that's what he tells me, but no, I know he is, because I've heard people making very, very good and complimentary comments about him. Tony Harper. Now, Tony joined us in 2017 as member for Eastwood. His big interest and life skill centres around adult social care and health. And from day one of his becoming chairman of that committee, he has been on top of his brief. And his knowledge and understanding of the needs and challenges cannot be underestimated. It's a big agenda, as we all know, to put it mildly, and he takes it so seriously and regularly updates us all as to what's good or what needs changing and improving in the world of adult social care and health. He, as well as that, he also sits on numerous outside bodies, and he takes an active role on them. And these are primarily related to adult social care and health, but also in the important world of planning and licensing. He has a big interest in that as well. So thank you, Tony. Steve Vickers. Steve was elected for Retford East in 2017. His pre-council and professional background saw him ideal for the world and the needs of adult social care, because Steve's previous or pre-council career was involved in the health sector. So he was and has been very active on the Health and Social Care Committee, the Health and Wellbeing Board, and the Health Scrutiny Committees in particular. So thank you, Steve. And finally, from my list of 7, it's John Longdon. Now, John, I call him my super sub because whenever there's been a need for a substitute member of virtually any committee, John really has stepped up to the mark. I've only had to phone him or email him and say, we need a bit of help. Can you help out on whichever committee? And he's never said no. He's always made himself available. And I'm very, very grateful to John for his help in that regard. And as we all know, those who have sat on committees with him, he's quite a character. And he joined the County Council in 2017 as the member for Stapleford and Broxtowe Central. His personal and council interests centred very much on transport and planning matters, and his knowledge and experience have proved very helpful at meetings related to those items in particular. He's never one to hold his opinion back. I'm sure we've all heard him either stating his views about whatever has been discussed about, either knowing that we can hear what he's saying, or sometimes if he's saying it under his breath down the microphone on the Teams meeting. And he's not shy in making his points. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all here to do. So, Mr. Chairman, those are 7 colleagues from the Conservative group who will not be standing at the next election. I thank them and your good self as being one of them very much indeed. And I'm sure that colleagues will join me in wishing the very, very best, and whatever the next chapter in their lives follows. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me a little bit of time to say a few words about my colleagues, who really are, as well as being good colleagues, they're all good friends as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I'm obliged to you, sir. Councillor Rhodes.
Chairman, thank you very much. I would like to pay tribute to all members of the County Council who are standing down, regardless of which political party they are from, because every member of this council comes onto the council for I believe, the right reasons, and we all serve our communities and this council to the best of our abilities. And I believe that all of those who are standing down today will have done that. And so I think we should say thank you to all of them. But I would like to single out the 5 members of my own group who are leaving us, wish to not seek re-election in the forthcoming elections. And then I'd like to pay tribute, if I may, to Councillor Cutts. So I'll start with the Labour group members. Joyce Bosniak. Joyce has served this council for many years. She was deputy leader of the council in our last Labour administration. She's been leader of the opposition. She was chair of health and wellbeing, cabinet member for children's services previously, opposition spokesperson for adult social care and health. And I believe that Joyce is, as well as being one of the longest serving members of this council, is one of the most respected members of the council too. John Peck. John was chair of children's services in our administration. He's been opposition spokesperson for children's services. And John brought his experience as a head teacher into his role as a councillor, was able to offer advice, guidance and wisdom to the Labour group on all matters of education. John's been very supportive to me personally as leader, and I thank him for that. Liz Plant, the Vice Chair of Children's Services in our administration, opposition spokesperson for Children's Services. She's also, for her sins, a job that I know that she'll miss, Secretary and Treasurer of the Labour group. Again, Liz is a former head teacher whose knowledge of early years and early intervention has been so valuable in her role and in the role of in the administration of this council. Barry Simbridis. Barry, again, one of the longest serving members of the council, a member of the Fire Authority for many years, and with Joyce, a member for Mansfield Woodhouse. Barry also prides himself on being the only true socialist in the Labour group, a claim that few would dare to challenge. Muriel Wise. Muriel was chair of adult social care and health in our administration. She's been opposition spokesperson for adult social care and health throughout her time here. Muriel brought a lifetime experience of social care management into her role as a councillor, and the Labour group and the council as a whole benefited as a result. Chairman, these are all good friends and colleagues to all members of the Labour group and tremendous representatives of their communities. I'm a firm believer that no one is irreplaceable, but some people are certainly more difficult to replace than others. We will miss them all. I wish them all well and thank them for all of their years of dedicated service. And now, if I may, Chairman, with your indulgence, I'd like to pay tribute to Kay. I don't know what I can say about Kay that hasn't been said before. She is, above all else, a conviction politician. She's not afraid to say what she thinks, however unpopular that might make her, and she's not afraid to stand up for what she believes in. And there's a certain amount of bravery to admire in that, and some might say it's a rare thing among politicians today. Kay and I have clashed in the council chamber many times, sometimes furiously, and politically we are poles apart. Our lives are very different, our beliefs are very different, and our values are very different. She's a fierce and sometimes fearsome adversary, and yet on a personal level I've always found Kay to be fair, kind, compassionate and empathetic. People who don't know her and who have not worked closely with her will be surprised to hear that. But then that old saying about never judging a book by its cover is very pertinent where Councillor Cutts is concerned. If a member of this council is ill, bereaved, or has a child or elderly relative who's ill, Kay is often the first to express concern, make a phone call, send a card, and to inquire how she can help. that kindness and compassion is often overlooked by her detractors. Kay, you've served this council well. As leader on 2 occasions, as leader of the Conservative group for many years, and as a representative of your division and your community, you've made your mark. Every leader deserves a legacy. And from my perspective, a large part of your legacy will be the leadership that you've shown in regenerating the economy of Nottinghamshire and of our wider region. You've been a champion of HS2 and the Toton Hub, along with the plans to regenerate the area around the Ratcliffe-on-Soar power station and the East Midlands Freeport. You've worked closely, collegiately and tirelessly with Midlands Engine, Midlands Connect, D2N2, East Midlands councils, businesses and politicians of all political persuasions in your efforts to bring jobs and prosperity to our region. And every job, every business and every pound generated for the local economy will form part of your legacy. I wish you and Nigel well for the future, Kay. I wish you both good health and happiness. I feel certain that this council will miss you greatly once you've left us, but I feel equally certain that you'll remain active in your community and in the politics of Nottinghamshire for a very long time to come. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Bosniak, I think you've put your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think that came around a little bit quicker than I anticipated, but that is fine. I want to thank Alan for his comments about my leaving and what I've contributed to the County Council. And all I can say is that I was absolutely delighted to be able to be given the opportunity to represent the people of Mansfield Woodhouse, Mansfield North, and in a sense representing everyone, all of the residents of Nottinghamshire, because that is what we do. We don't just look after the people that elected us. We have a responsibility for the whole of the County Council, and I believe that we all do that to some degree. I think I'd just like to say a few thank yous, if that's acceptable. One is to say that I will miss all of you, and there's certainly people that I've worked with more closely than others, and you start to develop a relationship regardless of the fact that you argue about politics. And a particular kind of closeness with people who work in adult social care and in public health and the Health and Wellbeing Board. And it looks as though there's quite a lot of us disappearing from that agenda. So that's a tad worrying. And I also want to give thanks to perhaps a personal comment to say thank you to Kay Cutts, who, as Alan has said, we have a scrap in the arena that is the council chamber. We disagree politically. Some of it is good-natured, some of it less so. But what we tend to do, and what most of us are capable of doing, is leaving that in the council chamber. Because I'd like to put on record my personal thanks to Kay Cutts, because outside of the council chamber, away from politics, she has been one of the most supportive elected members of Nottinghamshire that I have never known. If we all feel a bit down, she's able to support you in a way that I believe others haven't done. So I'd just like to make that comment for Kay. And then lastly, I'd like to give my thanks to my long-running partner, Councillor Paris Simbaridis, commonly known as that old married couple. There's times I wanted to cheerfully strangle him, and he does annoy me. However, he's always been there when I've needed him, and I hope he thinks the same of me. And I will miss him and his family. And special thanks to long-suffering Mary, Harry's wife, who's tolerated him even longer than I have. I will miss you all. I will miss the banter, and more importantly, I'll miss your friendship as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zadrodny, do you have...
Thank you, Chair. I'm sad to say that apart from me having the odd moment of decision, my entire group are standing for election, and we hope to see everybody back in the new term. I would like to add my warm wishes to everybody who's not seeking re-election and thank them for their service. Although we have had some combative times over the last term, and in fact just 2 days ago it was my 40th anniversary on this authority. I have thoroughly enjoyed every moment of it and will miss the relationships outside of the chamber with many members. So our good wishes to everyone who's choosing to do something else with their time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Fole.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to say a few words about Councillor Cutts first. I mean, Kay, although we're, as Alan has just said, the same, as we're opposite ends of the political divide, and after I've only done 8 years as a councillor, which seems quite a short time under what you've just described. So after just 8 years as a councillor, I absolutely salute your length of service and your sheer hard work. And on occasions when we're in meetings outside this chamber, like Joyce, when I've been with you, I've appreciated your congeniality and concern. And although I don't think you describe yourself as a feminist, but you like to challenge me on that one, I don't know. You will know what it's like to be a woman in an often male-dominated sphere, and that can be tough. And having gender balance in this chamber, virtually or not, I'm convinced really does make for a better quality of debate and decision-making. So I will very much miss my Labour women friends who won't be standing again. Joyce for her extraordinary length of service and a wealth of experience she's brought to this council, and for her humour. Muriel, who brings just such amazing wisdom and insight into any debate. She really researches her work very assiduously. And Liz for her tenacity and empathy for our children and young people that she champions with just such authority. But I'm not forgetting the men, the Labour men. I'll never forget Parry for his completely uncompromising, heartfelt socialism. And John Peck for his rich oratory, which is, as Alan has just described, is actually speaking from real experience. So for all those who don't return to this chamber, and I realise I might be one of them, for any reason, good luck and thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cutts.
I've got my hand up, Chairman.
You're on the list.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you very much for all the nice things that have been said about me. I have to say, I don't really recognise myself. It's been an honour and a privilege to be leader of Nottinghamshire County Council. I think we are probably one of the best parts of the country for getting things done. We're a very diverse county, a very rich county in our history, which I love to tell people. My quiz question is, where do the Pilgrim Fathers come from? We all know the answer, not many other people do. I recognise what a wealth this council has brought to the lives of the people in Nottinghamshire, and what a wealth of dedication there's been from all members, including those retiring. I think the dedication everybody shows in going out to meetings in the community, to doing your work on a daily basis, a really hard grind sometimes, long tiring meetings, and of course in the past we were driving long distances too. I really recognise that sort of dedication. And I do recall we used to have one of the chauffeurs who said, I don't know why any of you do it. And I had a little think to myself, and I thought, no, either do I actually, because you get a lot of brickbats, but the immense satisfaction of serving your county is probably the best thing. The things I will miss most are you, my colleagues. I've shared many a meal, I have to say, with Alan and Joyce. You know, I'm embarrassed them both now. We've been very congenial companions when we've been out to conferences together because of our positions. And we've had many conversations. And I think I know Alan and Joyce's family as well as my own sometimes. I've thoroughly enjoyed Keith Walker's comradeship, because Keith and I have been around a very long time. And I look upon Keith and I's old stages. But, you know, everybody that's leaving has left a mark on this council. Left a mark on the friendship that we feel for each other, that in spite of all of our political differences, and there are many, those political differences are set to one side when we have things that are happening to us that are hurtful, that are painful, and are probably all of life's living. And I'll never forget the kindness shown to me when my daughter died, and thank you all for that. It was really well understood, and I still feel affected by it. Can I say today is one of those days which I'm going to enjoy thoroughly and then put behind me, because I had 7 birch trees, silver birch trees, delivered yesterday. I'm very interested in the countryside, and I'm going to revert to my country roots, probably get my Wellingtons out more often. I probably won't be buying myself a new horse or a pony. May buy myself a new cat and dog, though. It just depends how much Nigel takes up of my time. But there are lots of things that I should like to do that I've not been able to do for a long time, including going on holiday when it suited me best. Because that rarely happens, does it? I shall miss every single one of you. I shall miss the debates. I shall miss the comradeship. I shall miss the in-depth thoughts that we give. But most of all, I'll miss the fact that the council would be able to carry on without me, because everything, in the end, it does carry on without you. So I do wish you all well. I thank the Secretariat, in particular Anthony May, who's been such a strength of support and character. I do thank you, Anthony, and I know you probably find this as coattailing as I do, but I have relied upon you so many times in the past for wise guidance. I've served as the 7 chief executives. Each of them brought their own to bring, and everyone's been special. But I should probably remember Anthony. Perhaps that's the most, because Anthony would be the last one. So thank you all. Not going anywhere until the end of the council. May the 6th is when I actually leave. Until then, I shall carry on with the good work. And thank you for the privilege of talking to you today. And I wish you all well at the elections. I can't help being just a bit partisan and saying, hope the Conservative group win again, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Councillor Dobson.
Thank you, Chairman. As one of the newbies, because I've only been with you for 8 years, as you all are aware, I took my late husband's seat. He was a Tory, never left the Tory party, but I stood as an independent, and I've had that privilege for 8 years. I would like to say to all of you who are retiring on all sides of the council chamber, thank you, especially those who know your friendship. I've had some really nice friendship from people I never thought I would. From some of you in the Tory group who knew Vincent, you greeted me with a hug and said, well done, and it's nice to see you. And thank you for that, because I know you were friendly with Vincent. And for those of you on the Labour group, I can't, sorry, I can't the chat, but in the main, I want to say you to Liz, Muriel, Kate, you've been real good friends to me. You took me in your wing, and I never sat on my own lonely without anybody to talk to at lunchtime. So thank you all very much. And I do wish you a long and happy retirement, all of you. And I would like to say, I would like to see people back on this council, including myself, but I would like to see, unlike Kate, and I don't blame her for being partisan, I'd like to see it to be a hung council. We might get even more done, Kate, if we could all work together as a team. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Saddington.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Well, I was welcomed into the council by Kay in 2005. She has always been extremely supportive of me, and her wise counsel has been much appreciated. As has been said, Kay has given her working life within the council to the people of Nottinghamshire. And I must not forget the opportunity Kay gave to me to become chairman of Nottinghamshire County Council. I had a wonderful year and had the opportunity to meet our Nottinghamshire residents. Before, sadly, it was brought to a sudden halt with the coronavirus that seemed to follow my chairmanship of Nottinghamshire County Council. I wish Kay, along with all members leaving the council, good health and happiness in the future. And thank you everyone who is leaving and those who are staying for your friendship from whichever party you represent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Simbadis.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very overwhelmed, actually, with the comments made by all the colleagues and those who are going to make some after me. And of course, needless to say about my partner councillor, Joyce Bosniak, we've been a lot together for 28 years. And I'd like to thank especially the Labour Party, who gave me the opportunity to become the first Greek-born county councillor serving the Nottinghamshire people. And I thank very much for that. And my family, the party I have enjoyed every minute. Great council, great place, colleagues and staff. I will miss you all. I wish you all the best for good and good luck for all of you on May the 6th. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Chairman. Where's 30 years gone? It's just gone like that. It only seems yesterday that Vincent Dobson picked me up and he said, I'll take you to your first council meeting, Keith. Miss Price was chairman in those days, and she welcomed me to the council because I was on a by-election. After she'd made the welcome, Michael Cowan stood up and he said, now that Councillor Walker is elected to the county, does that mean that the average age of the Conservatives have come down to 80? And I think in those days it was about right. But 20 minutes into the meeting, I would think that most of ours was either fast asleep or drunk. Because in those days, of course, the bar was open, and I could tell you many stories about the bar being open and councillors coming into the meeting, not having too much to drink. But having said that, we had some good debates. We really did. And I can remember one meeting went on to 10:30 the next morning. But most of all, in those days, we had real respect for each other. And I think in some debates we have at the moment, that is lacking. I would like to offer my thanks and kindness to all my fellow councillors. For those that are leaving, I wish them good health and a long and happy retirement. For all that are restanding, I hope every one of you get your seat back. I really do. I would also like to thank the staff, not just at County Hall, but the whole of the Nottinghamshire, for their kindness and help towards me over the last 30 years. So I will sign off now by saying thank you all for your help and kindness, but one special thanks to my friend Kay Cutts. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lawton.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. I'd just like to, pass my thanks on to all the colleagues of this council who are leaving, and thank them for being a colleague and being a part of my life for the last 20 odd years. Alan, that was one of the best speeches you've ever made, mate, because you showed understanding, humility, and statesmanship. It was an excellent speech, so well said. In fact, it very nearly shut me up. So because you said exactly what I wanted to say about Kay. Kay, I wish you all the best, you and the racing driver. I've become quite friendly with Nigel, her husband, actually, quite recently. And once, whenever you used to ring Nigel up, you get a monosyllabic response saying, I'll put you on to her, or she's in the garden, or something like that. And he's opened up and we've become quite good friends. And this one particular time, and I'm not going to tell the story because I'd be in real trouble. But Nigel sort of explained to me how he and Kay met. And it was one of the most interesting stories I've ever heard. But I won't embarrass you, Kay, by telling everybody the story. I thought better of it. I wish you every happiness. I think that's all you can really say. As an ex-military person, you learn good leadership and bad leadership, and you're a good leader. And I think if I was to leave this council with one thought, and it's something Joyce touched on really, you are a good leader because you show empathy. You understand. And that is the most important thing a leader can do during their time of tenure. So good luck and all the best in the future.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm not sure that it's good to leave something hanging around where we all want to know what it is that you're not going to tell us, but we'll move on from that. Councillor Carr.
Oh, I'm very disappointed with you, Bruce. You could at least give us some sort of clue. Anyway,
I'll tell you in private.
Yeah. Just like to, sorry, I put my camera on. Oh, there we go. Just like to wish everybody that's standing well, and wish everybody else that's standing again good luck. I think if I had to pick two people who I will really miss, that will be Joyce and Kay, because let's face it, I don't think the council is going to be quite the same without Kay. For controversy, for knowing exactly what she thinks and sticking to it, you have to admire that. With Joyce, but Joyce has been a friend to everybody. I think that's how you would describe Joyce. No matter what party you're in, you'll get a smile and a hello and a chat, and that will be missed. And I'm particularly pleased that Maureen's standing again, because I was beginning to panic about my sweet supply. Goodbye.
Think, have you completed, Councillor Carr, or have we just frozen you out?
Yes, I've finished.
All right, okay,
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, members, and I'm sure that the members that are going, if I speak on their behalf, is to thank you all for the nice and very pleasant words you've said, and also that we wish those who remain that you achieve your election, etc., and that you move the Nottinghamshire on. It is an expanding area. It's a place that's known. It's a place that's learning, and the rest of the country are learning we exist. So we say to you, congratulations and get on with it. Moving on then down to the business, my chairman's business. This time last week, almost, I formally opened the Orchard School. Now, for any members who have not had the chance to be able to see it, no one can get into it at the moment because of the virus. But if they've seen the actual looks of it from the outside, it's powerful, it's strong, it's modern, and it's warm just to look at. And those of you who have managed to sneak in, etc., will also agree that that follows on in. Next to it, of course, you have the day services, and that again is stunning and is worthy of what our people require out there. So that was one thing. One of the other is you'll be getting an email because I know that you're all keeping yourselves active to ensure that the virus doesn't get to you. I'm launching as the last thing I do before I retire from you all is for my charity, My Sight Knots, and that is to get you all walking effectively from John O'Groats to Land's End. What we're suggesting, what we're asking is go and get yourself out for a walk. Keep a record of how many miles you do and give me some money for all those little miles that you've put together. And if we put them all together, see how far we can get. And that's not just for the councillors, but that will go out on the web page to all our people here and our workers here. So those are the two things I'd like to have covered. Moving on now, we will have the 30-minute lunch break at approximately 12:30 as always. And I now move on to the constituency issue. Now, this item, as you remember, will give members who have previously given notice by the deadline, 3 days before the meeting is set out in the Constitution. It provides the opportunity for a member to speak up for 3 minutes on any particular matter in their constituency or particular issues arising from their electoral division, which is relevant to the services provided by this council. This is the opportunity to simply air these issues in the council meeting. It will not be given a rise for a debate or on any of the issues or any questions or any answer sessions. The members are reminded that they may only speak for 3 minutes. We have one speech, and I now call on Councillor Fielding regarding the early year provision in Shire Oaks. Councillor Fielding.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, I rise today to highlight the plight of early years provision in my division. The early years sectors have suffered enormously as a result of the pandemic, And while some of the larger providers have been better able to weather the financial uncertainties, many smaller independent preschools and playgroups who have served their community for decades are now finding the financial landscape hostile and wondering how long they will be able to continue providing their services in the future. I am aware of a paper came to Policy Committee last year which approved some emergency funding to help the sector stay afloat in recognition of how vital high quality early years places are, not just for child's development, but also for keeping our economy moving by enabling parents to re-engage in employment. You will understand my confusion then to be informed of the current predicament of a Little Acorns community-based preschool in Shire Oaks, a registered charity with a strong parent governance and an excellent reputation for providing exemplary early years care. You will no doubt be surprised to hear that this council has set about somewhat hastily renewing the terms of their lease, but have only been able to offer them a further 2 years and 3 months. This makes future planning very difficult for any organisation. It also seems very odd to me, given that less than a fortnight ago, we witnessed the sign-off of a lease for a 125 years lease to a large academy trust for exactly the same type of early years provision. Additionally, this preschool are at a loss to understand why this council now wishes to increase the monthly rent from a peppercorn rent to a £400 per month for ground rent only. Again, the aforementioned academy has considerably deeper pockets than this small preschool and have secured a peppercorn rent on exactly an extremely generous 125-year lease. £400 every month for an organisation such as this preschool, which is not in the business of making profits, is an awful lot of money to find. I would hate to see the early years sector become dominated by 1 or 2 or 3 providers in my division. I believe that parents should have a variety of high quality options available to them to decide on the most appropriate setting for their child. I call on this council to give serious consideration to fair and equitable support of this preschool and others like it that may not have the considerable administrative or legal capacity that an academy trust can wield in negotiation, but do provide a valuable service to our young families. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Moving then now, please, on into presentation of petitions. I was notified of 7 petitions by the deadline. May I remind members that there is a 1-minute time limit for the presentation of each petition, and there is a maximum limit of 15 minutes for the whole of these items. So first of all, can I call for Councillor Cutts, which is a request for traffic calming measures in Ambleside, Gamston.
Thank you very much, Chairman. The petition was signed under the following heading. There is an increasing amount of traffic using Ambleside, Gamston as a cut-through, and often at high speed. It's also being frequently used by heavy goods vehicles, despite the A52 running parallel with Ambleside. As a consequence, the road surface is deteriorating. This makes it difficult for residents of Gamston to cross the road safely, particularly those with young children, older people and those with disabilities. Due to the road surface and increased traffic, it's noisy for residents and those walking along Ambleside and for those wishing to access the school, Morrison's and Bassingfield. The amount of traffic also causes increased pollution for the community. There is only one interactive speed sign and one zebra crossing, which is situated at one end of Ambleside. The solution would be for Nottinghamshire County Council to introduce traffic calming measures, ban heavy goods vehicles and to resurface Ambleside. This would make a difference to the quality of life, health and security of the residents of Gamston, and in particular those living along Ambleside. So I wish to present the petition, Chairman.
Thank you. I've had the petition and I've sort of demonstrated it. Thank you. The next one is from Councillor Gordon Wheeler, which is a request to make Wilford Field a local natural reserve, and I have a copy of the agenda, but I don't think the actual thing will show you, but I do have one there. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Before I get into my 1 minute and you start get the clock working, can I wish you every best for the future, Stuart? We've shared a room together before this horrible pandemic gripped us. I've enjoyed your company enormously, and best wishes for the future and whatever you choose to do, Stuart. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Chairman, may I now start? Chairman, Wilford Fields is a secluded haven of wildlife between the Wilford Fields and Compton Acres residential areas. It's under threat, as it always is, from looming threat from future development. Chairman, as of this morning, there was in excess of 1,800 signatures to the petition, and a newly created Friends group has already got about 100 members. Our MP Ruth Edwards has given her total support to the aims and ambitions set out in this petition. At a time when our green open space is under threat, this is an opportunity for Nottinghamshire County Council to work alongside the Friends group, Mr. Chairman, to add this land to our green estate. Chairman, the petition states that as a community, we call on the local council, Nottingham County Council, to protect this land for the future, designate it as a local nature reserve, and work with the local community to plant trees and ensure access for all. Chairman, it gives me the great pleasure to hand over the electronic petition to you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'm obliged to that one. Item number 3 then is Councillor Deacon, a petition to stop the closure of the residential unit at Fountaindale School. Councillor Deacon. Councillor Deacon.
Thank you, Chair. Am I all right now? It seemed to freeze for a minute there.
Yep. Yes. The floor's yours. I think we've got to break down the communications.
Yep. Lovely. Yeah, please accept the petition on behalf of Fountaindale for the sleepover area for the school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jonathan Wheeler, there are 2 petitions, so we'll be generous and give him 2 minutes. The first being the request for traffic calming measures on Devonshire Road, West Bridgford, and the second, a request for pedestrian crossing near Ed Walton School. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and for your extreme generosity of the 2 minutes. So first of all, for the petition on Devonshire Road, so I'm great pleasure to present the petition on behalf of residents to you today. Devonshire Road is an extremely busy road. It's connects Melton Road and Musters Road and is used as a cut through and shortcut by many local residents. Devonshire Road is a unique road in the fact that it starts as a wide road, then it narrows to go underneath the old railway bridge, then comes back out again into 2 lanes, and it's only got a pavement on one side, and you've got cyclists, pedestrians and motorists all trying to get through that bridge, and it's also on a bend as well, so the line of sight is extremely poor. Residents are extremely concerned about safety on the road and would like to petition for a trial closure to through traffic while the County Council can undertake some survey and see how that affects the traffic patterns around West Bridgford. The road is closed on occasion for parties and for other events, and there's never been a big issue around the area, especially when the pavements are resurfaced that we had done a couple of years ago. It was closed for a week or so. So I very much appreciate, Chairman, this can go to the Community Place Committee and to be reviewed by officers and decision taken there. Second petition is for a crossing outside of Walton School. Walton School is located on the busy section of Welling Lane, close to Alfred Road, and you've got the number 10 bus coming around the corner every 10 minutes. Sorry, number 6 bus every 10 minutes, and the amount of traffic for residents who are coming to Ed Walton, as it's the main entrance to Ed Walton, because of all the new housing in the area as well. This obviously has increased the traffic coming around the road, as you can imagine. Residents are extremely concerned trying to cross the road, and I've had many parents contact me over the years in terms of asking for a crossing, and you know, we've now put together this petition that I very much appreciate yourself and the officers looking at and to consider. Over 350 residents have signed so far, which I think shows the strength of feeling in the local area. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to show that the chair is always equitable, making sure that everyone is treated the same, I will also give the 2 minutes to Councillor Payne for the 2 petitions that he has, both the resurfacing of Sergey's Lane, Arnold, and again resurfacing of the Lodge Farm Lane, Red Hill. Councillor Payne.
You're very kind, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. I have here 2 petitions. First of all, Mr. Chairman, resurfacing of Sergey's Lane in Arnold. This is a road that serves hundreds of homes as a main thoroughfare in Arnold, but is also the main bus route for the 58 bus, the NCTX bus, which runs at 8-minute and 10-minute intervals throughout every day. The road has not received substantive repairs for a number of years. It's a patchwork quilt of repairs that have had to be returned to, week after week in some occasions. It's a bit like driving on the surface of the moon. As you drive up that road, it is probably the worst, if not definitely the worst road in my division, and it certainly needs a full resurface. So on behalf of the 158 local residents who have signed that petition, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to present that petition for a full resurface of Sergey's Lane. And the second petition, Mr. Chairman, is for a full resurface of Lodge Farm Lane, signed by 232 residents who live on that road. Again, it's a main thoroughfare that services many residential roads, hundreds of residential roads. It is again a patchwork quilt of repairs that have had to have been returned to month after month. It hasn't seen any substantive resurfacing work for many, many, many years, and it's certainly long overdue and needs a full resurface. So please accept those 2 petitions on behalf of the residents I serve, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I now ask the Council to resolve that the petitions should be referred to the appropriate committees for consideration, and that a report will be brought back to the Council in due course in accordance with standing orders. All in favour? Thank you very much. Thank you. Item 6B, following on, which is response to the petitions presented to the to me. In your book and your blue package, you'll find a number of items there. I move that the contents of the report and actions are approved and noted. Thank you. Moving on into the agenda, then we move to item number 7, which is the Nottinghamshire County Council's pay policy statement of 2021. I call on now Councillor Cutts, who will introduce the report and move the recommendations contained within the report. Councillor Cutts.
Thank you very much, Chairman. The pay policy statement reflects the position for the Council as of at the 1st of February 2021. Under the Localism Act in 2011, there is a legal requirement for all councils to publish by the 1st of April each year on the remuneration of their employees in the form of the annual pay policy statement. In doing so, this council seeks to demonstrate openness, transparency in relation to decisions made regarding the pay and reward packages for the Chief Executive, senior officers and all staff. This council adheres to the legislation and supporting government guidance which sets out the statutory content of the pay policy statement and how it should be presented. This council statement therefore contains the following information: the level and the elements of remuneration for the chief officers, the remuneration of the council's lowest paid employees, the relationship between the pay of the highest and lowest paid employees, the ratio between the chief executive's pay and the median, that's midpoint earner, details of any severance packages for senior officers of 100,000 or more, of which there have been no cases in this period covered by the pay policy statement, and copies of the authority's policies relating to pay and remuneration. This council continues to subscribe to and implement the National Pay Bargaining Framework for staff, including the chief officers, a national pay award for 2021, 20 and 21. It was agreed which was provided across the board uplift of 2.75%, which is reflected in the statement today. Nottinghamshire County Council continues to apply the National Living Wage Foundation living wage rate as an allowance to our lowest paid workers. The Council continues to maintain an equally proved pay system through the robust application of job application and adherence to our single status agreement with the recognised trade unions. The statement also reflects that the Council has a collective agreement in place with the recognised trades unions on a package of returns and conditions effective from the 1st of April 2019 for the lifetime of this administration. This ensures that we maintain a good overall employment package to enable the Council to continue to attract and retain the high calibre employees. Therefore, Chairman, I move that we accept the report as printed in the Council minute book today, and that we now need to seek a seconder. I'm proposing it.
Thank you. And it's seconded. Councillor Adair, are you seconding this motion?
Yes, Chairman, thank you. I'll second the motion and reserve my right.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. As Councillor Cutts said, this is a statutory requirement introduced by Eric Pickles, I think it was, when he was the minister, and therefore the Labour Group will be supporting this report, this document. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Clark?
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. Just as Chairman of the Personnel Committee, I thought I should make some comments, although obviously Councillor Cutts has listed all the main requirements, but certainly this is part of the law of the land, and so councils have to have the pay policy and to publish it, and the pay has been agreed nationally through the National Joint Council. As Councillor Cutts mentioned, there are various things that relate to chief officers and the Living Wage Foundation, but also the chief exec's pay is set at 10 times the lowest earner, and there are details of each chief officer's pay. Should be noted, we maintain an equality-proof pay system through a robust application of job evaluation and a single status agreement. It does include many other aspects, such as agreement with the trade unions on revised terms and conditions and progress on the gender pay gap, and also on openness and transparency on pay awards for the chief exec and senior officers. There are details of pay and reward packages, including the details of any severance packages for officers of £100,000 salary or more. I'm pleased to say that there have been no such cases in the period that's covered by this policy. So this policy is about staff, Mr. Chairman, quite obviously. I know we will be referring to staff later on in this agenda, but we should recognise all the efforts of staff during the last year under difficult circumstances and continuing to serve our communities so well, and I'll return to that at the appropriate time. As I said, this pay policy statement is a legal requirement. We're bound by it. That said, we should be proud that we are part of it. So I support the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Carr, you have your hand.
Yes, thank you. It's been mentioned that we have to produce this every year, but I just would like to pick on the point that yes, it is absolutely essential that we thank all of our staff for the fantastic effort they've put in during the pandemic, and of course all the staff at the boroughs and districts who have worked incredibly hard as well. But I hope all councillors share with me that because of all this hard work, they must feel, some of them, gutted that next year they're not going to get a pay rise at all. And I just think that ought to be noted. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no other speakers. Councillor Adair, do you wish to make a comment, or I shall go back to Councillor Cutts?
Thank you, Chairman. I think, as all been said, we're doing the right thing, and I've got no further comment.
Thank you. Councillor Cutts, do you want to summarise?
I don't think there's a need to add anything further, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, the motion is proposed and correctly seconded, and I'm putting this up for a vote, but it will be, yes, we will do it by a roll call vote. Okay, so if you sit off you go there.
Sorry, I had my snorkel up. Starting with Councillor Adair.
4.
Councillor Allen.
4.
Councillor Barnfather,
4.
Councillor Bosniak,
4.
Councillor Bradley,
4.
Councillor Brooks,
4.
Councillor Brown,
4.
Councillor Butler,
4.
Councillor Carr,
4.
Councillor John Clark,
4.
Councillor Neil Clark,
4.
Councillor Cotty,
4.
Councillor Creamer,
4.
Councillor Cutts,
4.
Councillor Deakin.
4.
Thank you, Samantha. Councillor Dobson,
4.
Councillor Doddy,
4.
Councillor Elliott,
4.
Councillor Fielding,
4.
Councillor Vole,
4.
Councillor Garner,
4.
Councillor Guilfoyle,
4.
Councillor Girling,
4.
Councillor Greaves,
4.
Councillor Handley,
4.
Councillor Harper,
4.
Councillor Henry,
4.
Councillor Henshaw,
4.
Councillor Hollis,
4.
Councillor Richard Jackson,
4.
Councillor Roger Jackson,
4.
Councillor Kerry,
4.
Councillor Knight,
4.
Councillor Lawton,
4.
Councillor Longdon,
4.
Councillor Madden,
4.
Councillor Martin, Councillor David Martin.
4.
Thank you, David. Councillor Meal,
4.
Councillor Ogle,
4.
Councillor Owen,
4.
Councillor Payne,
4.
Councillor Peck,
4.
Councillor Place,
4.
Councillor Plant,
4.
Councillor Pringle,
4.
Councillor Purdue Horan,
4.
Councillor Quigley,
4.
Councillor Rhodes,
4.
Councillor Kevin Rostance,
4.
Councillor Phil Rostance,
4.
Councillor Saddington,
4.
Councillor Sissons,
4.
Councillor Smith,
4.
Councillor Taylor,
4.
Councillor Simbaridis,
4.
Councillor Vickers,
4.
Councillor Walker, Councillor Keith Walker, Councillor Wallace,
4.
Councillor Vice,
4.
Councillor Wetton,
4.
Councillor Gordon Wheeler,
4.
Councillor Jonathan Wheeler,
4.
Councillor Woodhead,
4.
Councillor Zadrozny,
4.
back to Councillor Keith Walker. It's carried in any case, Chair.
Thank you very much. So the motion is put forward and is carried. And I'll move on now to item number 8, which is the Nottinghamshire Minerals Local Plan and the receipt of the Inspector's report and adoption. I therefore call on Councillor Cotty to introduce the report, please, and move the recommendation.
Thank you, Chairman. And before I start, I would just like to say to those members who are not standing next time, I've enjoyed working with all of you in my way, shape and form of doing things. I've always got on well with everybody, and I wish you all the best for the future. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure as Chairman of Communities and Place to introduce this report, which recommends the adoption of the new minerals plan for Nottinghamshire. And Nottinghamshire is a county which is rich in minerals and has a long history of coal, oil and other extractive industries. We need to plan for the future to ensure we're providing sufficient sites for future mineral extraction, taking into account the trends in supply. Back in 2017, this administration decided it wished to revise the minerals plan to base it on more recent evidence of mineral sales in the county. After several years in preparation, the plan was agreed by Council in July 2019. Since then, the plan has been subject to its statutory process of publication and examination. We've submitted the plan to government in early 2020, but COVID-19 delayed the examination hearing sessions with an independent planning inspector from April to October in 2020. We became one of the first councils to hold its local plan hearing virtually via Microsoft Teams and broadcast live on the council's YouTube channel. I'm very pleased to report that the appointed inspector, Nick Palmer, has found the minerals local plan to be sound, subject to making of modifications with the council officers themselves and suggested, and which do not fundamentally alter the plan which the council agreed. The council has a simple decision. It is to accept the plan as modified and to ensure we have an effective blueprint to manage the future of mineral development across Nottinghamshire. The plan will then be the basis for all decisions made on mineral development by this council in the future. It's a robust and effective plan, which also plays due regard to the need to protect and safeguard rural environment in which much of our mineral development takes place. It will supersede our existing plan, which is out of date and no longer helps us manage development effectively. I recognise that whilst we have done our best to develop the plan to reflect community opinion, there are some communities who will be affected more than others by what this plan proposes. Every new allocation in this plan will still need to be subject to a planning application, and I know that the council will remain diligent when determining planning applications to ensure that detailed proposals, if approved, include the best mitigation possible and do not cause harm to local communities. I therefore commend this plan to the council and wish to thank officers for all their tireless work in getting us to the point and propose the recommendation on page 112 of the council minute book today. Do you wish me to read the recommendations out, Chairman, or do you accept what's in the
I accept
paper?
what's in there. Thank
So
you.
I propose those. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I then call on Councillor Philip Rostance to second the motion?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'll second the motion and I'll reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Chairman, thank you very much for asking me to speak. Can I first of all say that it was regrettable that the minerals plan that my administration drew up following consultation and in the with the support of our professional officers was torn up in 2017 by this administration. It was the wrong thing to do, and the reason it was torn up was because the leader of the council didn't like Shelford being included, and she wanted to remove that and replace it with Barton in Fabis. I think it was irresponsible actually to leave us without a minerals plan for nearly 4 years, and it put at risk all of the communities in Nottinghamshire who may have been subject to speculative plans to recover minerals from those areas. We've now got a plan that's taken some years to put together. It's now at the very end of this council's term of office come for approval. But I'm afraid that the Labour group won't be supporting it. Having said that, we do recognise the irresponsibility of not having a plan, something I've just pointed out to the Conservatives when they tore the plan up that we'd already drafted. So for that reason, we won't be voting against it, we'll abstain. But let's not be under any misunderstandings here. This was wrong it was wrong to tear up the minerals plan that we'd all worked so hard on when you came into office in 2017. And it was wrong to remove Shelford and include Barton in Fabis for reasons that I don't believe are anything to do with mineral extraction. I think have more to do with politics. So it's unfortunate, Chairman, that the minerals plan won't have the full support of this council this time round. It could have been very different, of course.
Thank you. Councillor Dobson.
Thank you, Chairman. I hear what Councillor Rhodes is saying, and to a certain extent agreed. It has left quite a lot of communities not knowing what was going to happen and getting quite wound up about the whole thing. But first of all, I would like to pay tribute to the very small team that have put this minerals plan together. The two Steves and Sally and her team have worked tirelessly on here, and for that I'd like to thank them. But they worked tirelessly on the previous one, and I think what we probably should learn from whatever it was, that we will never leave Nottinghamshire without a minerals plan for so long again, because it does allow all sorts of organisations to come in and do things that probably, well, certainly the people I represent and hope to continue to represent certainly don't want to see happening. Yes, we have a huge amount of minerals within Nottinghamshire as a county, but if I remember rightly, as Bruce Lawton said when you took over the administration, is that we really need to perhaps look at whether we need the amount of extraction that we actually do need, because things are moving on, ladies and gentlemen. We've got huge problems with the planet. We need to decide how and when we're going to utilise minerals, what sort of minerals, how is it going to affect the way our planet survives, and in particular, how is it going to affect Nottinghamshire and the people that live in Nottingham. Now, it probably won't affect me, it probably won't affect most of us, but it certainly could affect our children, our grandchildren, for the future. So what I would like is, because Jim Cramer worked jolly hard on this from the Labour group, he tried to do his level best, and to a certain extent he did. But equally so, it needed a little bit more thought going into it and a little less tonnage than what was going to be produced. So I would like in future, whoever controls this authority, to actually not start again, for goodness sake. Let's get this one through and let's get it voted on and let's have it. But certainly when you start looking, or the officers need to start looking again, we need to look at the bigger picture, not just the small picture of minerals. We need to look at how it's going to affect the climate and everything else. Thank you, Chairman, but I will be supporting it.
Thank you. Councillor Creamer.
Thank you, Chair. Before starting, I just wish give my best wishes to all parties who are actually retiring, and hope they actually do well. After that, I would just like to thank again all the officers that have worked hard over 2 administrations to actually put this together. And again, they've worked in both extremely hard. The amount of consultations that's gone in and back for further consultations on the original one, etc. We did our absolute best to actually make sure that everybody was properly represented and properly heard, even giving personal promises to make sure that personal comments from certain ex-councillors, and I believe the leader of the council at the present time, would get heard whatever. So we did our absolute best to be fair and even-handed. We actually made sure that the plan had leeway either side, and I'm pretty sure that the tonnage may have gone down a little bit once we'd gone to the inspector. Well, it had gone to the inspector, just didn't get inspected. It got dragged back at that very, very late stage. And there would have been perhaps some reductions, but that's the way we left it, to actually make sure that at that moment in time, nobody was happy. Residents weren't happy, the companies weren't happy. So I think we did hit a proper note of equilibrium, if I might say that. It's a little disappointing, well, it's massively disappointing, as has already been said, about the actual length of time it's taken. 2005 was the previous one. It was left a little bit late, even on mine, even on that one. So again, and it was promised it would be dealt with within 6 months to a year. Well, it's best part of 4 years, which I did actually say it would take a long time. And I'll grant there was an extra year thanks to COVID and the delays in that. But it doesn't actually protect Shelford. I mean, the new administration, I have to agree with Alan completely. It was more political than actually tonnages, etc. It was far, far more political to do with Shelford, which is still not protected. it's a slightly disappointment that one of the amendments, that the major amendments that's been made, is that not to give priority, not to give an absolute priority to keeping existing sites open. So it still leaves it open for others to actually, other sites to be blighted. So the wording of the penultimate sentence in SO1 supports rather than prioritises extension. And we tried to actually prioritise the extension of existing sites, so it wouldn't blight other sites. But that's been taken out by the inspector, and that's fair enough. It's the inspector's decision. It's not a bad decision. It's just not a political decision, if you like. But the strategic objectives as well of emissions to and the environmental emissions and transport. It says pardon my tongue. This is consistent with the statutory requirements in terms of moving towards a net zero carbon budget by 2050. Well, I have to say that our manifesto is actually 2030. So we'd be moving forward. We would actually be moving forward on that. So I won't actually go into any great details on the plan. The tonnages have been removed. It's been mainly the sand and gravel that's been the problem. And again, I really do have to thank the officers. The actual shale gas and shale and carbon could have been dealt with a little bit more detail, but as that's very largely to do with government diktat, there's not an awful lot the officers could do with that. So again, thank everybody and everybody from your administration that's working on this one, regardless if we disagree with it all or not. Been a lot of hard work put into it, a lot of time and a lot of effort, and that cannot be denied. So yes, it's a shame that we're not actually going to support it per se, but we support the need of a plan. We cannot actually leave ourselves open to speculation, either as a counties or districts, because it doesn't affect just us. The districts, it affects their planning as well, where they're anywhere near a quarry. So it affects the districts as well. So we do need a plan. We're not going to be selfish and say, all right, we've won, which we will, and just remove it. We need a plan. This will be the plan for the next few years, and with no alterations per se, but the targets of 2050, we will be moving forward to 2030. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Lawton, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I won't try not to be too long. First of all, it is incumbent on me to thank Sally and the team for developing this local minerals plan. As everybody has pointed out today, there's a lot of hard work gone into getting to the stage we are, and I'm actually disappointed that the Labour side of the chamber is going to abstain. Jim, I'd like to thank you as well, really, because 4 years ago we had a right good knockabout over the local minerals plan when we decided to reevaluate the local aggregates assessment as far as sand and gravel is concerned, and we did it, and you did it with good grace, and you also did it knowing that we disagreed with your original plan, but you became involved in the formulation of what rose out of the ashes, so to speak. And so from my side, from me personally, and I think from my group, we'd just like to say thank you very much for that, because that helped with the delivery and getting to the stage we're at now. I mean, I have to say, as far as the LAA is concerned and the local aggregates assessment, I was right. But, sometimes I'm wrong. But on this particular occasion, I was right. And it took a lot of arguing and a lot of explaining to get people to understand the impact that the figures would have on communities across Nottinghamshire. And I have to respond, Alan. I don't think I know it wasn't irresponsible in 2017. It was the responsible thing to do, because what it did was blighted communities that didn't need to be blighted. And I know you're touching it with the political brush and talking about Shelford, my main lobby didn't come from Shelford. My main lobby came from not even in my own patch, but in the area of Kelham and Newark and Cromwell and places like that. So the lobby was county wide as far as that was concerned, and they were feeding information into me all the time to be able to put forward a cohesive argument to reach the stage that we're at today. So let me make it absolutely clear. My motivation was not even to win votes in my area. My motivation was to protect those communities, that most of which I don't represent, protect them from sand and gravel. And let me make it absolutely clear, these communities, they realise that they will have gravel extraction at some future stage, or the chance that will happen, on the basis that we may need the supply which is local to them. They're not daft, they're not stupid, but what they say is don't go digging it up or blighting our communities with possible planning applications when they are not necessary. And you know, and the whole plan was, one of the main planks as far as sand and gravel was concerned was the predication of delivery of sand and gravel to Rotherham Metropolitan District Council when supply was local to them. And we were expecting our residents to take that pain, which is patently unfair, whilst I recognise the plan has to take into account areas around us, Lincolnshire, Derbyshire, South Yorkshire, etc. So I only just say, please vote for it, really. Change your mind, vote for it. This is a good plan. And I'd just like to lastly play thanks to Philip, who took over this mantle from me with his position as with John Cotty, because and they've done a good job. So well done, Philip, for getting to this stage, and I implore everybody to support this plan. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. You only just managed that within the 5 minutes. Councillor Cutts.
Thank you, Chairman. I need to correct something which has been said this morning. When the minerals plan was stayed, it was stayed because there was an oversupply of aggregate in it, of sand and gravel, and therefore we needed to re-look at that. Remember, we have been recycling aggregate and reusing it, and also using innovative materials on our roads like shredded tyres, for example. So the need for raw sand and gravel has actually reduced considerably. I nor this council were not responsible for removing Shelford from the plan. When the plan was stayed, all the applicants were asked if they wished to reapply. The applicant for the Shelford application did not put in an application. It was not considered because they didn't ask to have it considered. And I think the very good reason for that was to win that sand and gravel and get it out there. It would have involved building a screening plant next to the 6097, and for lorries to turn in and out of that screening plant on a very regular basis, several times in each hour. Can I remind you, the 6097 is the road which leads past East Bridgeford down to Gunthorpe Bridge, which is already very, very busy. Even now, at all times of the day and night, it would have been impossible to win it out in that direction. And that involved building a screening conveyor belt along the River Trent and then taking it up there. And then the rest of it was being taken out by barge, which sounds infinitely better, except, of course, you have to remember that the barge was going to go less than a mile down the river to Mile End Road, to the wharf there, where it would be put on lorries and driven through the Gedling roads. It was not satisfactory for that planning application, but no one took it out. The applicants themselves did not cease to put it back in again to have it considered by the inspector. And therefore, Alan, I think you should actually rescind what you said. It wasn't my doing. It was what was put in front of the committee to discuss, and not anything which any political interference had. Interference, if there was the oversupply of aggregate for this county, and that's the only reason. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Saddington.
Well, thank you, Chairman. Of course, going back to 4 years ago, I supported Bruce and our group that insomuch as this the proposed minerals plan should be revisited. Councillor Lawton is correct. There had been an overestimation of sand and gravel, and had this gone ahead, Kelham would have been blighted and surrounding communities for no actual gain by this county. And it is right that it's been looked at, and I thank the officers for the hard work that they have done in doing so, and I thank them also on behalf of my communities. However, mindful of this being the last meeting of this particular council, I cannot let it pass that the stress, had this gone ahead, this mineral plan, the original one, the stress on Kelham Bridge would have been immeasurable. And with the traffic that we have around Newark, it would have been gridlocked and we would have suffered more than we are suffering at the moment. So on behalf of all my residents that I represent, I thank everyone for bringing this back to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saddington. Before I go to Councillor Barnfather, Councillor Neil Clark, I'm told that you've flagged up to speak, but I haven't seen it come up on the counter. Did you wish to speak?
Sorry, no, Mr. Chairman, I haven't raised my hand. I apologise if it appears so, but not on my screen. Sorry about that.
Okay, no, that's all right. It's technological. Councillor Barnfather, and then I'm going to go to Councillor Rostons.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Chairman, for allowing me the opportunity to speak. And I speak as the current chair of the Planning and Licensing Committee. Obviously, this policy has considerable impact on the work that that committee does. We are the practitioners on the Planning and Licensing Committee, not the policy makers. If we don't have a policy, an up-to-date policy that would withstand scrutiny, both from the public, from the industry and from legal entities, then obviously any decisions that we make as a planning committee are vulnerable to challenge. I thank the comments, thank Councillor Creamer for the comments that he's made. I do disagree with him slightly in relation to the fact that Shelford is mentioned, and I thank Councillor Cutts for her very clear explanation of the issues surrounding Shelford. And I appreciate that it's incumbent almost upon the opposition to justify their decision not to support the plan that's before them today. So, well, let's throw Shelford in, because it then implies that this is a decision made on personal grounds through the leadership of the administration, rather than being made on factual grounds as supported and approved by the inspector in his documents that are before us today. But the comments from Councillor Creamer are absolutely right. This is a plan that is needed. We need it for this authority. The Planning and Licensing Committee need it to justify decisions that are made in the future. And I also would like to thank Councillor Creamer, both for being my vice chair for the last 4 years on that committee, who's been an excellent vice chair, and I think we have worked constructively as a team throughout, irrespective of party political differences. There's never been anything between the decisions that we've come to as the chair and the vice chair. And I'd like to thank his input into this document. I know that it has always been constructive. I know that this is an area that he is extremely well versed in. So my personal thanks to Councillor Creamer, and it would of course be remiss of me not to thank Councillor Lawton and Councillor Rostons for the work that started this process and has culminated in the document that is before us today. I would hope Councillor Rhodes can actually reconsider that decision to abstain on this, because no decision has been, no reason has been given to us today to justify why the Labour group should seek to abstain on a document that I think is recognised by all as an excellent document prepared by our officers that satisfies the needs and requirements of this authority and this county moving forward. The only reason it would seem to be that for abstention is simply because this is a Conservative administration document rather than a Labour administration document. And Alan, I would ask you to reconsider, because I do sense that Councillor Creamer is reluctantly going along with the decision to abstain, but actually welcomes the document that is before us today. And just finally, my thanks to the officers that have produced this report. I've had many conversations over the last 4 years with Sally and her team. It is an excellent document. The minimal reasons for change from the inspector, a proof of the pudding of how thorough, detailed and professional the work that's been undertaken by our officers, and the resultant document that's before us today. And I'd urge all members to support this, and let's move forward. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Carr, you just squeezed underneath the lights, so I'll be generous.
That's me. Mostly this report is okay. It's fine. It's been inspected, but I have to disagree strongly about policy MP2, which is Mill Hill near Barton in Fabis. This is probably the most environmentally sensitive area that could have been picked for gravel extraction. It has an SSSI, 5 wildlife sites. It's directly opposite Attenborough Nature Reserve and is part of the Trent Valley Green Infrastructure Corridor. The Attenborough Nature Reserve has just been purchased by the Nottinghamshire Wildlife Trust for a substantial lot of money, which was raised by donations from the public. And to now find out that potentially they're going to have gravel extraction the other side of the river, and the river is actually quite narrow here, for the next 15 years, with the noise and dust, the disturbance of some very, very rare breeds of birds and animals on this site. The site that is proposed to be dug up is a feeding ground for many migrating birds who rest here over the winter periods. And of course, Attenborough Nature Reserve is a fantastic attraction. For leisure, it is absolutely superb, not only for the residents of Broxtowe, but for Erewash, Ashfield, Amber Valley, who flock to this site for leisure. And of course, don't we know how important leisure's been over the last 12 months? I'm very, very disappointed that this has been is in this plan. It is the worst possible site that could have been picked from an environmental point of view. And I'm afraid, unlike the Labour Party, who seem to be happy to just wave this through by abstaining, I will actually vote against it, and I would call for a recorded vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rostons, do you wish to exercise your right to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I will, if I may. Thank you very much indeed. First of all, I've just sent my best wishes to all of those councillors who are standing down this year. It's been a pleasure to work with you all and get to know you all. I wish you all the very, very best. I'm sorry that the Labour group and Councillor Carr feel they can't support this, but I thank everybody for their comments and their input. And as Councillor Cotty has already stated, every new allocation in this plan will still need to be subject to a planning application going forward. I'd just like to say some further words in respect of the huge amount of work that's gone into the new Minerals Local Plan. So as you're aware, we started the revision back in 2017, and I'm very grateful for the work of my predecessor, Councillor Kevin Rostance, all the work he undertook. And I'd also like to thank personally Councillor Bruce Lawton, whose input, passion and expertise has been invaluable throughout this process. Councillor Creamer and also Councillor Rachel Madden, again, another big thank you to you for your contributions. You've all played a vital part in steering this plan forward. So the plan has been the product of several stages of public involvement, beginning in late 2017, when we considered the issues and options. We then wrote a draft plan and published it for comments in 2018. The council approved the plan at its meeting in July 2019, which was then made available for further comments. And in total, we've had 2,600 separate comments that have been made on this plan as it's been prepared. And all comments on the final plan were examined in detail by the independent planning inspector. And our public hearing, which was broadcast live on the council's YouTube channel, it remains there for the record. It's had a further 853 views, which I feel is many, many more than might have attended if the hearing was held at County Hall, which shows what technology can do for us. But the plan has been subject to extremely detailed processes, which has determined that it is sound. It provides an appropriate basis to determine any future applications for shale gas exploration and development, and it allocates a series of sites for sand and gravel extraction, but only those which are necessary in light of long-term trends and extraction. And more than this, it'll also ensure that our mineral sites will be the basis for a wonderful legacy of sites where wildlife can thrive. And finally, the main thank you really, and as other members have already stated, I'd like to pay tribute to the fantastic teams that have put this plan together. To name a few: Stephen Osborne James, Sally Gill and the team, Stephen Pointer, Suzanne Osborne James, the planning policy team and the wider planning group. I congratulate them on a tremendous amount of hard work that they've put into this plan. They've created it and established the evidence based on which it is based. So a big thank you to you and everyone involved. I join Councillor Cotty and I'm very pleased to second the recommendations. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Kerry, you're stretching my generosity.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Please be brief.
Thank you, Chairman. I did have my hand up before you asked Councillor Rostons to sum up there. In fact, Councillor Rostons has said very much of what I want to say. Clearly, in the report, pages 147 and 48 recognise the special scientific interest, the environmental and cultural designations of the Mill Hill site, and also potential impacts on heritage assets in Attenborough as well. And that's in recognition the closeness of Attenborough in my division to that site. And indeed, if you look at the maps of the divisions, part of the south bank of the River Trent actually is in my division, so we do recognise that. We have made responses, and actually during the consultations, the council has listened, and so has the inspector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cotty. I'll move back to you to sum up and then move the motion.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I thank everyone for their input on the discussion, and just to follow up from Councillor Carr and Councillor Kerry just now. As far as I'm aware, there will be substantial measures to minimise any noise or dust, and phase 2 minimise disruption to nearby habitats and also residents. So hopefully that will be in the conditions when the planning is dealt with. So apart from that, Chairman, I'm happy to go to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. It will be a roll call vote. I hand over now to Anthony, please.
Sorry, Chair, I did ask for a recorded vote, so I need people to support that.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Carr. So if you would like a recorded vote, we'll need 10 members to signify that they support that, please. If you could signify by using the hand signal so I can see them all come up, colleagues.
To have a recorded.
Anthony, with your indulgence, the Ashfield Independent Group en masse are happy to support that recorded vote.
So I've got 7 so far. I'm afraid I've only got 7, Councillor Carr, and I need 10 hands.
That's fine. Democracy in action.
Thank you, Councillor Carr, and thank you, Councillor Zadrosny. I'm going to take a roll call vote then, starting please with Councillor Adair.
For.
Councillor Allen.
Abstain.
Councillor Barnfather.
For.
Councillor Bosniak.
Abstain.
Councillor Bradley.
For.
Councillor Brooks.
Abstain.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Butler.
For.
Councillor Carr.
Again.
Councillor John Clark.
Abstain.
Councillor Neil Clark.
For.
Councillor Cotty.
For.
Councillor Creamer.
Abstain.
Councillor Cutts.
For.
Councillor Deakin.
Against.
Councillor Dobson.
For.
Councillor Doddy.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Fielding.
Abstain.
Councillor Fole.
Abstain.
Councillor Garner. For. Councillor Guilfoyle.
Abstain.
Councillor Girling.
For.
Councillor Greaves.
Abstain.
Councillor Handley.
For.
Councillor Harper.
For.
Councillor Henry.
Abstain.
Councillor Henshaw.
Abstain.
Councillor Hollis. Councillor Tom Hollis. I'll come back to you, Tom. Councillor Richard Jackson. Thank you, Tom. I've got that. I've got Richard Jackson. I've got Tom Hollis. So Tom voted against Richard Jackson. Councillor Richard Jackson voted for. And now Councillor Roger Jackson, please.
For.
Councillor Kerry.
For.
Councillor Knight.
For.
Councillor Lawton.
For.
Councillor Longdon.
For.
Councillor Madden.
Against.
Councillor Martin. Councillor David Martin.
Against.
Thank you, David. Councillor Meal.
Abstain.
Councillor Ogle.
For.
Councillor Owen.
For.
Councillor Payne.
Abstain.
Councillor Peck.
Abstain.
Councillor Place.
Abstain.
Councillor Plant.
Abstain.
Councillor Pringle.
Abstain.
Councillor Purdue Horan.
For.
Councillor Quigley.
For.
Councillor Rhodes.
Abstain.
Councillor Kevin Rostance.
For.
Councillor Phil Rostance.
For.
Councillor Saddington.
For.
Councillor Sissons.
For.
Councillor Smith.
Against.
Councillor Taylor.
For.
Councillor Simbaridis.
Abstain.
Councillor Vickers.
For.
Councillor Walker.
For.
Councillor Wallace.
For.
Councillor Vice.
Abstain.
Councillor Wetton.
Abstain.
Councillor Gordon Wheeler.
For.
Councillor Jonathan Wheeler.
For.
Councillor Woodhead.
Abstain.
And Councillor Zadrozny.
Against.
Thank you. Just give us a moment to top those up, please, colleagues.
Right, thank you, colleagues. The result of that is 35 votes against, 7 abstentions, 22. Therefore, the motion is passed. It's now 25 minutes to 1, so I'll be very generous and say 5 minutes past 1, please, and we can move on and try and sort of get as quick as we can towards that 5:30 point. Thank you very much.